Hey everybody, welcome back to my office and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Well, I always say on this channel that most of the videos come about from the students that I teach and from customers that come in to me. And today's is no different, but it has a little bit of a catch to it in that it's what happened to me this morning. So a little bit of background here. It is currently April. I'm in southern Alberta, Canada, and it is snowing like crazy outside. It's nice and warm. It's actually above zero, but it's snowing really hard. And I went for a walk this morning carrying one of my cameras and lenses and took some great pictures and then came back to the studio. Well, so many times customers come in with problems with their cameras that could have been resolved, could have been fixed quite easily if they would have sat down when they came back from taking pictures and made sure their camera was set back to where it was supposed to be set. Pretty simple. Come back after taking pictures, take 10 minutes to go through all the settings and make sure everything is set correctly. Well, today I came back from taking pictures, came into the studio, tossed everything over to the side, and started doing some work around the studio. And then I decided to pack my camera away, and I thought, whoa, wait a second. It's kind of wet. Let me just dry it off here. So I dried it off, and then I went, oh, well, let me check the settings. And sure enough, the settings were all completely messed up. Now, I'm not talking about a little messed up. I'm talking really messed up. In fact, this lens here, the 24-70, I had set it to manual focus because I was using a neutral density filter on it, and I could not focus for nothing because it was so dark. So I set it to manual focus and manually set the focus. So it was on manual focus. This lens here, I had changed a couple settings on it, and I don't know why I did it. I don't know when I did it, but I moved over from manual override to autofocus. So I had to move that back. And somehow the distance got changed. I never changed that. Now, I don't know if I bumped it putting in the bag, taking it out of the bag. I don't know when it happened, but it got changed. Then I checked the camera, and sure enough, everything on the camera was messed up as well. Well, not everything, but enough stuff on there was messed up that would have caused issues the next time I went out to take pictures. So take it from somebody who has done this more than once, and from somebody that has had to help, well, hundreds, if not thousands of people with their cameras, that when you come back from taking pictures, you should do a series of things every time. Very first thing is check to make sure you've got everything. If you use the lens caps, make sure you've got all your lens caps. Maybe you left it in the vehicle. Maybe it's in a pocket somewhere. Maybe it's somewhere like that. If you have a lens hood, make sure you got the lens hood. If it's anything like today, make sure that your lens is dry. This lens I had used at the 600, and this was quite wet. I knew enough not to put it inside, so I had left it out there, but it needed still to be dried off. Same with this lens, and actually same with my camera body. It was actually quite wet as well. So go through and make sure that you've got the lens caps, lens hoods, everything's dried off, cleaned up if it's dusty too. That's another area that people ignore quite a bit. And I've seen a lot of results of that where people have let sand get on their cameras, one of the worst things, have let grain dust get in their cameras. That's almost just as bad. Let other stuff get in the cameras just because it's set on the barrel, it's gone in and out, it's got inside of it when they change lenses. So make sure that your camera is clean. Make sure that it's dry. Make sure that everything is done. The other thing is to go through and make sure all your settings on your lenses, like I said this morning, mine was on manual focus, so I wanted to put it back to autofocus. Make sure if you use your image stabilizer most times that you leave it on. If you use it most times off, turn it to off. Whatever your setting is, whatever the reason you have, make sure that you do that. Then go through with your camera settings. Now, what camera settings should you go through and check? Well, here's what I did this morning, and here's a couple things that I had to go through and adjust. The first thing that I did when shooting with the neutral density filter was I went through and manually set my white balance. Whenever you're shooting with filters, especially neutral density filters, they always have a color cast to the image. And even with auto white balance, there's usually an issue. And like I said before, I shoot a lot of JPEGs. So I adjusted my white balance on the JPEGs and I set it to a custom white balance. Well, and guess what? That white balance is still in the camera, or was still in the camera when I came back. So check that. Check to make sure that you've set your ISO where you like your ISO set. Perfect example, the other day, I was on my way to Calgary for a doctor's appointment. Driving along, I pulled off to stretch my legs and to take some pictures. I pulled my camera out. I set the ISO and everything. I put the stuff back in the bag, continued on my way, wanted to pull off somewhere else, grabbed my camera, went to take a picture, and didn't realize that I had set it to 100 back there. And I usually had it at 400, and it wasn't. And so check your ISO. The other thing is check what setting you have your camera on. I always tell people, put it on program mode. It's a good mode to start in. When you grab your camera, it's going to work for 90% of the things. It may not be the best, but at least it's in a good mode to grab a quick picture. Make sure that you haven't changed anything. I have custom functions. Make sure that you have not gone through and done anything stupid to your custom functions. Then finally, and this is a big one, and I cannot stress this enough, download all your files from your camera card to your computers, back them up, and then format your camera cards. I don't know how many times I've had people tell me the horror story of I started to take pictures and my card was full. It's constant. It really is. And I said in the previous video, I get people phoning me, where can you buy a camera card when you're in the middle of nowhere? Sorry, you're in the middle of nowhere. You can't buy a camera card. Or what do I do? Well, there's nothing you can do. So make sure you clean off your camera card. Make sure you back up your files. Don't leave it for a month. Don't leave it for 2 months. Don't leave it for 6 months, because you'll forget what the pictures are, where the pictures should go. You even forget you had them on there, and you may format by mistake and they're gone forever. But believe me, I hear horror stories of that as well. Entire lives, basically, of kids deleted because somebody hit format. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I had a gentleman phone me. He says, my wife is in tears. He says, all of our pictures off our camera card are gone. Brought it into me, and there was a lot of pictures on there. It took 3.5 hours of retrieving the pictures with the program I use to get them off. He was happy. He said she would be ecstatic. But he knew, in fact, he went out and bought an external hard drive while I was doing it to make sure that he had them backed up. So get them backed up. Now, one little extra thing, I suggest this constantly. Get a small notebook and make the notes when you're changing settings so you know what you've changed, so what you can set back when you get back to home or office or wherever you're going. It's just so much easier. I didn't do it today because it was snowing so hard that the book would have just gotten soaked. But having a book with you that you can put little notes in it, that you change the white balance, that you change this, that you change that, just helps so much. So until next time, I'm going to put everything away here, get some work done here around the studio, and then hopefully take some more pictures this evening. We'll talk to you soon. Get out there and take some amazing pictures and have a great time doing it. Bye-bye now.